So when you expand the cross product of components, you get a somewhat complex expression. How are we going to remember it? Well, as your textbook says, conveniently, it turns out to be the determinant of a 3x3 matrix. Now, if you're doing the alternative sequence for specialist maths and you're only in year 11, then you won't have seen matrices yet and you won't know what a determinant is. I'm going to try and show you enough to be able to remember this better. So I'm not going to try and explain to you what a determinant is, what it means, anything like that. I'm just going to try and teach you how to calculate the determinant of a 3x3 matrix, and in particular, this 3x3 matrix. Now you'll notice again, when you look at this, the textbook has changed its mind about the component labels again. So when the textbook starts, it says it's x1, y1, z1 and x2, y2, z2. Then it goes a1, b1, c1 and a2, b2, c2 for no good reason. These are not very helpful labels. But then afterwards it says a1, a2, a3 and b1, b2, b3. This finally is something you can remember. Okay? This is the x, y and z coordinates, or the I, j and k coefficients for A and for B. In my version of the rule, that was x, y, z and p, q, r. Now what we have to do is write out our vectors like this, I, j, k, x, y, z, p, q, r, or a1, a2, a3, b1, b2, b3, and then we find the determinant, because the cross product A cross B is the determinant of this matrix. Now what's the determinant? The determinant is this. You block out, if you're looking for I, you block out the rest of I here and the rest of this column, basically, the rest of this row, and you look at what you've got left is a 2x2 matrix with 4 things in it. And the determinant of the 2x2 is these two multiplied, subtract these two multiplied. These two minus these two. That's times I hat. Then you get j hat, and you block out j hat's row and column, and what you're left with is 4 numbers. So you go these two and those two, these two and those two. And then you get k hats. You block out k hats, column and row, and you're left with 4 numbers. So you go these two multiplied, subtract these two multiplied. The only thing you then have to remember is plus, minus, plus. So it's I hat times A2B3 minus A3B2. Minus, because the second one is minus, J hat times A1B3 times A3B1, plus K hat times A1B2 minus A2B1. And that's what they'll say just below here. These you see are actually determinants of 2x2 matrices. But that's what it is. The determinant of a 2x2 is these two multiplied minus these two multiplied. These two multiplied minus these two multiplied. These two multiplied minus these two multiplied. And that may actually end up being an easier way for you to remember it than trying to remember the complicated rule, notwithstanding this textbook's silly errors about which letters go where. Try to remember that maybe instead.